Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give our praises to Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahushai, Ba'asham Kakudash, double honors unto the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone. Salutation to your Akim pushing this word in sincerity and in truth. This is your brother Yassad back at you with another lesson. We'll net edifying, through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahushai. And this one here is, you know, things will not be looking well for TNT, right? About 3 years ago, I did a video on inflation, you know, and the cost of living being, much more tough in this, society, and look where we are at now. The US dollar is more or less scarce in Trinidad, and here it is we see now in this article. Trump says countries that buy Venezuelan oil, gas will face 25% tariff. Right? Let's say Donald Trump said Monday he will be placing a 25% tariff on all imports from any country that buys oil or gas from Venezuela, as well as imposing new tariffs on the South American country itself. In a Truth Social post, Trump said Venezuela has been very hostile to the US, and countries purchasing oil from it will be forced to pay the tariff on all their trade to the US starting April the 2nd. Which we actually are a few days away from April the 2nd. Venezuela will face a secondary tariff because it is the home to the gang Tren de Aragua. He said the Trump administration is the Trump administration is deporting immigrants that it claims are members of that gang who illegally crossed into the US. Trump said his social media posts would serve as notification of this policy to the Department of Homeland Security and other law enforcement agencies. TNT was previously granted a waiver against oil sanctions, allowing it granted a waiver against oil sanctions, allowing it to proceed with Dragon Gas project, which involves the purchase and transport of gas from Venezuela's Dragon Gas field to the Hibiscus platform via a 22-kilometer pipeline. Preliminary work on the project began in late 2024. Government said in April 2024 that the amended OFAC license was issued to TNT and is valid until the 31st October 2025, permitting Shell, NGC, and contractors to continue works for the exploration, production, and export of Venezuelan's natural gas. Prime Minister Stuart Young said he intends to continue to work to ensure project's continuation, which, if successful, would see gas by 2026 or 2027. Young leaves for Jamaica on Wednesday to meet U.S. Secretary of State Marco to discuss, bilateral relations alongside CARICOM Chairman Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley, and whatnot. Yeah, and hey, this is not news. This is not good news, because the scriptures say, when you think things to be goods to be in good case and cheap, evil's gonna be upon the face of the earth, because we know, hey, how about Hashem Shai is actually bringing judgment and hardship, Jacob's struggle, famine upon this place. These prophecies must come to pass, right? So measures would be taken, things would happen that would result onto these things, because here it is, we done under heavy hyperinflation, goods very expensive in Trinidad, and say this tariff is to go into effect, what would be the case? You know, because I was just looking up upon it. Trinidad is actually about, yeah, it say Trinidad and Tobago main import partners in 2022 were the US 40%, China 12%. You know, everybody else is a small percentage, right? Right, so about 40% of all imports from the US, you know, climbing as of 2024, you know, the let's say TNT from US was 3 point almost 4 billion during 2023 to the US nation Comtrade database. So just imagine that, you know, this type of money with a 25% tax upon it, you know. So this is where, and we know how that tariff would work, as meaning it sends out a great tripling effect, because if 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 the price raise, you know, down on that end, right, transport prices would raise, the grocery prices would raise, the hardware prices would raise, and when it reaches down to the poor man now, the prices double and triple times that, just so for that little, you know, tariff, that little sanction on goods, right? So let's get into the precepts. Hey, the Lord didn't pronounce nothing well for this place. Because second is 15, right? And verses. Right. Second is 16, right? And verses 17. Woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? This is the prophet Ezra crying out, hey, because when he's seeing the visions, the things that is happening upon the face of the earth, you know, it brought great fear upon him, you know, as, hey, who gonna deliver me from that evil time? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear. Yeah, the rulers of the earth, because things gonna be taken to a way next level where the people is gonna even turn against them, because we know their motive all out of chaos, you know. You know, they would come set up, you know, a lot of chaos, uh you know, hackings, you know, many different things to bring the people to a low estate where they're in the state of need. You know, that is why Bill Gates buying up all these lands, destroying all these livestock. You know, all of that would force farming on the place, poisoning the water, poisoning the air, doing all these things. So the people would reach a docile state, and when the chaos hits, you know, they're gonna be killing each other. They're gonna be, you know, because when bread gets very expensive, you know, soon it's gonna run out. The storehouses is gonna be emptied, and famine will hit, and that is when, you know, a man will turn against his neighbor when the famine comes. Right? It's the beginning of famine and great death, because many people would be killing for the lack of bread. Grocery stores would be robbed, you know, parlors, all these things, and they ain't coming to rob you and let you go. They coming to for blood, right? And the powers shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils come? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. But for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, Now be mindful of the scourges, because we have been telling you this. Not new under the sun, just as how in the time of Egypt, where the scriptures, in the time of 70, 80, they lay a trench around about thee. You know, the box you in. They put things in place that they have no escape. But all these things they shall not turn from your wickedness, nor be mindful of the scourges, because the Lord, ultimately, the Lord making all these things come to pass to render judgment upon this place. You know, and and it's all gonna be to his glorification, because in that time, then shall it be known who am I chosen, that is going to be preserved from all these famines and these things, as according to Job the 12th chapter. At famine thou shalt laugh, thou shalt be one and league with the stones of the field, all these things. It said, but for all those wickedness they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be mindful of the scourges. The point here, behold, victuals shall be good cheap upon earth, because yeah, it would at the time that things would be reasonable prices and whatnot, but in this times things are very expensive, as hyperinflation is going to hit more and more. That they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then that evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. Right? Yeah. Many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. Yeah. Yeah. Look, right. Second is 6:22. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, because hey, many raw materials, when these things reach sky high, the amount of production you would do, the the, the cost of it would be very expensive. A lot of small businesses would have to shut down because of the expense of goods, and all these things would happen. So all these sown places is going to appear unsown. The full stores they shall suddenly be found empty. Yeah, and the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man hear, they shall be suddenly afraid. Hmm. Yeah, and at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Yeah, you know, hey, no nice times, right? That's why the winner, Ezekiel 7:25. It's say destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace. Yeah, so we see all of these things happening, prophecies in the lineup, a great, tribulation, that destruction coming, but what they in the spirit, in the mindset of peace. Let's say, and there shall be none. Not gonna be none. It's not gonna have no peace upon this place, the Lord so. And mourning, you know, mourning, woe, and you know, yeah, mourning and woe when he laid open the book. Lamentation, mourning, and woe. There's destruction, there's judgments, deaths, tribulation, perils, right? Isaiah 24. Let's see what this is. Eat the mirth of tabrets ceased, the noise of them that rejoice ended. The joy of the harp ceased. They shall not drink wine with a song, strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. The seat of confusion is broken down, every house is shut up that no man may come in. There is a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone because when these things happen, it's gonna affect the whole country in a real terrible state, you know. And days by days, weeks by weeks, thing is gonna be much more harder until it is the point that when you really do check it, you're paying $100 just for bread. You know, you're gonna have to work a whole day, and it's still not gonna be enough to provide bread for your family. That is the times that is coming. You know, this as in Revelation. Revelation 6:6, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts saying, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. See thou heard not the oil and the wine. Yeah, and this is a representation of great hyperinflation and farming is coming. Low goods, no stocks are goods, and that is why in that time you're gonna come to the result when cost of living gets so high, a man can't even buy food. These prophecies will come to pass, right? Um, for the sword and their destruction, George 9, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, swords in their hand, for there shall be sedition among men. You know, they're not gonna hear what the government had to say in that time when their children is hungry. Hey, the streets is gonna be flooded with guns. Gangs is be coming up robbing these groceries. You know, all these things. You know, there's gonna be civil wars. You know, and eh, and one right, it's an invading one another. They shall not regard their kings or princes, the prime ministers, the governors. You know, the ministers, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. Right? Jump into verses 18. For because of the pride of the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Yeah, I know. Gradually, you're gonna see these times manifest. Hopefully, lessons are defined, double honors to the elders and the apostles, a great millstone. Salutation to you, Archeon, pushing this word in sincerity and truth, dear brother. Here you sat back at you with another lesson to define unto the flock of Israel, meaning the elect, through the power of Yahweh Shem Shai, Shalom.